We spent a lot of time on this channel talking about the Capitol Hill Riots, and in particular, Officer Brian Sicknick, whose death was, in my opinion, something that was totally taken and run with in order to move forward a political end. And it was pretty grotesque. And we don't know the full story about Officer Sicknick and his death. There was an allegation that he was hit in the head with a fire extinguisher that resulted in his death. And there was a false narrative that was picked up by the media and run with for a long period of time. And it even made it into the Democrats' own impeachment documents. They actually took this claim that Officer Sicknick was killed by the MAGA maniacs, and they tried to impeach the president over it. And it turns out, well, none of that's really true. Actually, none of it's true. And so we've been wondering what killed Brian Sicknick. What killed this officer? How did he die? What was the cause of his death? And we still don't know. Autopsy's been completed. He's already been cremated. He's already been laid to rest. Public still doesn't know. And it turns out it certainly wasn't a fire extinguisher. Okay, we know that much. And for some time, we've been wondering what the heck happened with this guy. Are they going to arrest anybody and charge anybody with crimes? And we learned over the weekend that yes, they have. So we're going to dive into this one at length. 2 men have been arrested for assaulting Capitol Hill police officer Brian Sicknick, who died after the January 6th breach. Authorities on Monday confirmed 2 suspects were arrested, although the cause of death has not been disclosed for Brian Sicknick. Department of Justice said that Julian, Elie Cotter, 32, from Pennsylvania, and George Tanios, 39, of Morgantown, were taken into custody on Sunday in connection with the incident. They were charged with conspiring to injure officers, assaulting people during the January 6th. We're going to go through the charges. 2 were charged with 1 count of this, that, and the other. Okay, we're going to look at the charging document in a minute. Tanios' sister, Maria Boutros, told Washington Post on Monday that her brother was arrested for something he didn't do. He didn't do it. He would never do that, she said. Sicknick's cause of death has not yet been released by either the Capitol Police or the FBI. His mother, Gladys Sicknick, told the Daily Mail last month they say that he may have suffered a stroke, disputing reports from the New York Times and others that claimed he was beaten to death by protesters with a fire extinguisher. New York Times later updated its story to say the cause of death isn't yet known. Yeah, after it was already spread around the entire world and repeated, and repeated and repeated, and it made it into the articles of impeachment, the memorandum. They talked about it on the floor. Capitol Police stated after the breach that Sicknick, quote, was injured while physically engaging with protesters. He collapsed after returning to his office. Then U.S. Attorney Jeffrey Rosen said in a statement that the officer died of the injuries he suffered defending the Capitol. Neither mentioned bear spray. So now we're looking at bear spray. And on March 2nd, FBI Director Chris Wray told lawmakers they cannot disclose the cause of death. When pressed further, he said, saying that the FBI has determined the cause of death. He said at the time, I didn't say that. And then again repeated that the FBI can't disclose the cause of death. 300 people have been charged. 100 more people are expected to be charged. It's not clear if the 2 defendants yet have attorneys. And so Christopher Wray, I remember this, in front of the Judiciary Committee, I think it was asked by a senator, okay, well, he's cremated. You have the autopsy results. Do you have the cause of death for us? And he says, well, nope, we don't even have it. He says, well, but you do have it. You just don't disclose it. He says, nope, we don't have it. Basically, we're not commenting on it. He's not confirming anything. He's not saying anything about it. Even though this death was really the crux of the entire impeachment proceedings. The MAGA people killed a police officer. That set off a firestorm across the country. They even had a special ceremony in the congressional building for him for being killed as a result of domestic terrorism. Okay, so let's take a look at the charging document. Here it is. Criminal complaint says on or about the dates of January 6th. You're going to see here a whole list of charges, a lot of different charges. 2 different defendants. We got Julian, Elie, Cotter. We got George Tanios. You can see this has been assigned over to somebody named Zia Farqui out of the District of Columbia, United States District Court. So this is federal court. And this was all signed off on, it looks like, March 6th. So this is the complaint with an arrest warrant. So they, the way that this works is they submit the request for a warrant. They submit the complaint. The judge seals everything. They go conduct the arrest. Then they unseal everything. And all of this stuff comes out to light. So because they were arrested and picked up yesterday, now this document is publicly available. And you can see here it says that see the attached statement of facts. So we're going to go through this. Here are the charges. So we've got 18 U.S. Code 111A and B, 3 charges of assault on a federal officer with a dangerous weapon, another count of conspiracy to injure an officer, another one of civil disorder, obstructing or impeding any official proceeding, physical violence on restricted grounds, violent entry, disorderly conduct, and aiding and abetting. So a whole list of charges. And as a refresher on these things, these are basically just arrest warrants, complaints, and initial probable cause statements. So some of this stuff might change. This is not the full picture. Many people see this and they think this is the full police report. No, it's not. It's only about 9 pages. I think this one might be 9 pages. A lot of pictures and things like that. This is just enough to get them across the line for the judge to grant the warrant so they can go conduct the arrest. Then they can supplement this stuff later down the line. They can correct it. They can modify it. This is enough to start the process. All right, so let's get into it. And we've covered several of these in the past, but this is obviously important because it's Officer Sicknick, who is the subject of a lot of the ongoing controversy surrounding the Capitol Hill stuff. So let's go through this. January 6th, you're affiant, the FBI agent was on duty, special agent with the FBI since 2017, been doing regular duties. He was also tasked with investigating everything that occurred on January 6th, authorized by law. The information contains enough to establish probable cause. These are the different charges. We just ran through all of those, so we don't need to go through those again. A little bit of background. Not going to spend a lot of time on this section because we already all know the background. U.S. Capitol secured by 24 hours, January 6th. They were going in there to count the electoral votes. We got it. As the proceedings continued, Vice President Pence was there. Temporary barricades around the building. Certification proceedings were still underway. Individuals in the crowd forced an entry into the Capitol building. They broke windows about 2 p.m. Shortly thereafter, 2:20 p.m., members were evacuate the chambers. The session was effectively suspended until 8 p.m. So from 2:20 to 8 p.m., so about, what is that, 5 hours and 40 minutes. The Vice President Pence remained at the U.S. Capitol from the time until the sessions resumed. So Pence never even left the building. During the national news coverage, video footage was captured on mobile devices of the persons present on the scene and depicted evidence of violations of the law. Let's go into it. So here is the defendant's assault on the federal officers. 1 p.m., crowd of violent rioters assembled at the Lower West Terrace. U.S. Capitol Police formed a line of bike racks extending from the north to the south to act as a barrier. Officers were standing watch behind this line, fending off attempts. In reviewing the surveillance footage of the incident, your affiant observed the defendants, Julian, Elie, Cotter, and George Pierre Tanios, working together to assault law enforcement officers with an unknown chemical substance by spraying officers directly in the face and eyes. So this is a big sentence right here. Okay. What is the surveillance footage that we're talking about? What are we looking at? Because this is going to be a big case about identification. There's a lot of pictures here, and we're going to see whether or not they can actually connect these people with this surveillance footage. A lot of the surveillance footage doesn't look good. Your affiant further observed that these defendants appeared to time the deployment of chemical substances to coincide with other rioters' efforts to forcibly remove the bike rack barriers that were preventing them from moving closer. At 2:09, Tanios can be seen walking from the south grassy area in the lower west. Cotter can be seen walking behind Tanios wearing a beanie with a pom-pom on top, a dark jacket, and a beard. Tanios is wearing a red hat, black backpack, dark hooded sweatshirt, and has a beard. Tanios and Cotter can be seen engaging with each other in an animated conversation. During the investigation, law enforcement discovered open source media video, so stuff posted online, of the incident from January 6th. On the video, Cotter is seen making his way towards Tanios. Tanios then states, "Give me that bear shit," and reaches into the backpack on Tanios' back. Tanios says, hold on, not yet, it's still early. So the bear stuff is going to be the bear spray. Cotter is then seen emphatically telling Tanios, "They just effing sprayed me," and Cotter is seen holding a white can with a black top that appears to be a can of chemical spray. See the figure below. So it looks like down here, there's a can of something here in this gentleman's hand. So that looks like Tanio. He's walking from the south. He's wearing a beanie with a pom-pom on top and a dark jacket and has a beard. So a beanie with a pom-pom on top, a dark jacket, and he has a beard. So I don't know if that's a beard right here, or if this is a little mustache going on, little chin. That might be a little bit of a beard there. So that's how they're identifying him. Cotter is seen holding a white can right here with a black top. All right, so it could be bear spray, could be a water bottle. Verbal exchange between Cotter and Tanios. So this must be, so if this is Cotter, this is Tanios. And let's go on. The verbal exchange between them together, retrieval, reveals that the two were working in concert and had planned to use the toxic spray against law enforcement. In the video, Cotter continues to talk animatedly with Tanios. At 2:20 p.m., Cotter walks through the crowd, a few steps closer to the bike rack, directly across the line from law enforcement to include Capitol police officers who are Sicknick, Edwards, and Metro PD Chapman, who is equipped with functioning body-worn camera. All right, so Chapman now has some camera footage that presumably we can see. Officer Chapman's body-worn camera shows that at 2:23 p.m., the rioters began pulling on a bike rack to his left, using ropes in their hands to pull it away. Cotter then, seconds later, is observed with his right arm up high in the air, appearing to be holding a canister in his right hand and aiming it at the officer's direction while moving his right arm from side to side. So he's sort of doing right arm side to side, sort of doing one of these. Officer Chapman's body-worn camera then confirms that Cotter was standing only 5 to 8 feet away from the officers. See figure 2 below. All right, so let's see if we can see Cotter. So now over here, it looks like we've got the same guy with the Trump beanie with the pom-pom on top. Looks like that might be him as well there. Yeah, see this 45 logo, that circle? We go over 45 logo, same beard-ish here. And so that's his right hand. Kind of hard to tell. This is from the officer's body camera. So this is Axon body camera. So you wouldn't see any of that. This is obviously the officer. This is his hands here. And so he is spraying something back their direction. This guy's obviously taking a duck. And so this is his hand being extended out. And that's about 2:23 that looks like. So about 2:23 right there. You can see that. All right. Moving on. In reviewing the surveillance footage and body-worn camera video, your affiant observes the officers Sicknick, Edwards, and Chapman standing within a few feet of Cotter all react one by one to something striking them in the face. The officers immediately retreat from the line, bring their hands to their faces, and rush to find water to wash out their eyes. As described in further detail below, here are the following screenshots, 3 and 4 below. All right, so that looks like potentially an officer. That might be another officer that they're referencing. So this guy has some yellow on his outfit. So this is Chapman. And we don't really see him unless this is this yellow here. We see another officer that does not look like Cotter over here. Although it kind of might. I think it's a different color, blue. So can't really gather much from this video. All right, so moving on, you can see here is another couple images. So this officer is pulling stuff away from his eyes. And let's see if we can identify Cotter anywhere. So we see a number of these officers. So Chapman must have been one of these guys. So Chapman's in one of these outfits. Don't really know. This is figure 4. Okay, so don't have an eye on Cotter or the other guy right now. So they may have just sprayed it and run away. So be very, very curious to see how this all gets connected via video. Next up, we have at 2:23 on surveillance footage, Cotter is again observed raising his arm. So that's the pom-pom hat. There that is. Here's his right arm again. Looks like a darker jacket. Raising his arm and continues to spray in the direction of law enforcement officers. Metro PD Lieutenant Bagshaw notices these actions and approaches Cotter. At 2:23, he then sprays Cotter and is observed on both surveillance footage and Lieutenant Bagshaw's body-worn camera. So this is this officer now at 2:23, which is right about the same time, wasn't it? Yeah, 2:23. 2:23 here. He's over there. And then we've got over here. Okay. Yeah, so you see this barricade here. So that barricade is going to be this barricade from that angle, I think. And so he's getting hit from the back right at about 2:23. So they match those up. Now those might be off by a little bit. Injuries to officers. Let's take a look. Officer Sicknick, Edwards, Chapman suffered injuries as a result of being sprayed in the face with an unknown substance by Cotter. These officers were temporarily blinded by the substance, were temporarily disabled from performing their duties, and needed medical attention and assistance from fellow officers. They were initially treated with water in an effort to wash out the substances. All three were incapacitated, unable to perform for at least 20 minutes or longer while they recovered. Edwards reported lasting injuries underneath her eyes, including scabbing that remained on her face for weeks. Edwards and Chapman also described the spray to their face as a substance as strong, if not stronger, than any version of pepper sprays that they've received. Officer Sicknick reported to his supervisors and colleagues that he had been sprayed in the face with a substance. So interesting there, right? So that's an interesting sentence. So Officer Sicknick said, hey guys, I got sprayed in the face with something. Other officers, Edwards and Chapman, say, look, this was stronger than any version of pepper spray that they had been exposed to during their training as law enforcement officers. And I can't speak specifically to the Capitol Hill Police about whether they have training with that, but other police agencies do. They actually spray you with some of that stuff. I think they do it in the military too. We're just talking about them. So it's interesting that Officer Sicknick says, no, I got hit in the face with something. They don't go into details about that report because he may not have provided details about that report. He may have just made a mental note of that and not made a big deal out of it versus the other people who said, yeah, this was like really, really bad. It was worse than anything we've ever seen before, even regular pepper spray. So kind of two differing opinions on that, or two different statements. And the question is, why? Why is that? I did see other videos that were floating around about people getting sprayed, but it didn't look like it was anything that even had any chemical effect to it. It looked like it might be water. I mean, I saw videos, people getting sprayed and just kind of going about their business, walking on, moving around, just going, that was weird. What the heck is that? Oh, it's nothing, right? It's water or something like that. Or it's very, very low grade chemical spray. And I saw other videos of people getting hit with very potent stuff that day. And so I'm very curious to see what this shows. All right, let's carry on. We've got a couple more pages. Identification of the defendants. Now, we'll also note on this. So we're going to go into identification and then the charges. Yeah, this is interesting. So we're going to go through identification and then charges. Look at how much time we spent on that body camera. I'm sorry, on the spray for only Officer Sicknick. Officer Sicknick suffered injuries as a result of being sprayed in the face. Officers were temporarily blinded. They were initially treated with water. We hear from Officer Edwards. We hear from Officer Chapman. Then we get all the way down to Officer Sicknick reported that he'd been sprayed in the face. Okay, so this is the assault. Okay, this is the assault right here. They reported to his supervisors that he'd been sprayed in the face. All right, so that's about it. Okay, this was also Sicknick, Edwards, and Chapman. All right, so let's go to identification. Based on the above surveillance footage, law enforcement prepared flyers and photographs. They were published along with other individuals. We saw that. Defendant Tanios was listed at number 254. Tipster to the FBI provided information that Tanios and Cotter knew each other. They grew up in New Jersey. So this is all about identification now. Okay, just want to point that out. Everything we just talked about was the scene. We got the charges. We got the lead up. We've got the special agent's role as a special agent, what he did to investigate the case, where he got everything from. Then we have just like 2 sentences of actual statements that there was pepper spray from this guy that hit Officer Sicknick. Based on his very minimal report, that's 1 sentence. Then we go directly into identification. Very little meat there. The rest of this is just procedural stuff. Okay, here's identification of Julian Cotter. During the investigation, law enforcement received information from a tipster, same person who on a LinkedIn page. Based on the review, they spoke to telephone on they called witness number 1, gave him an image of subject 190, positively identified him as Julian, worked together at a food, November 19th. Okay, identification of Tanios. 2 tips included a photo posted on social media. Here it is. George Pierre Tanios posted this. Okay, so he posted something. I don't know where he is on that, but that looks like it. Maybe it's in the Capitol. Kind of looks like people are just hanging out inside somewhere. Did they hang a flag in there? I don't know. Let's see here. Received 2 tips. Yeah, so they say that was at the Capitol on January 6th. Tipster stated that the photo was from a Facebook page belonging to an individual named George Tanios. Confirmed that Tanios was wearing clothing with the insignia Sandwich University. So here's the other guy. His profile picture and his picture at the Capitol. Your affiant notes that the hooded sweatshirt that Tanios is wearing in the Capitol picture appears to be identical to a sweatshirt worn by Tanios on the surveillance video, as seen below in Figure 7. All right, so we've got this sweater here. Looks like that sweater there. Might actually be that sweater there. Looks like a U with something underneath it. Looks like a U with something underneath it. Sandwich University. All right. Another tipster reported to law enforcement that Bolo 254 looked very close to George Tanios. He had bragged about going to the insurrection on Facebook. Tipster also indicated that Tanios owns Fat Sandwich Restaurant, which is why he wears this U shirt all the time. Utilizing a public records database, they found him below the U sandwich, so he makes sandwiches. Tanios is wearing a sweatshirt with the Tanios logo, with the Sandwich University logo, username King of the Fat Sandwich. Charges based on the foregoing. This is what we've got. We believe there's probable cause to believe that this is all justified and warranted. Submit the probable cause statements. Federally, this is all just copy and paste boilerplate language. Joint session of Congress is an official proceeding. Yep, got that. Your affiant thinks that there's probable cause to charge him with all of these other offenses under these different U.S. codes. Okay, got all those. Probable cause, physical violence, Capitol buildings, and on and on and on. Signed off on by a judge, U.S. magistrate judge, Zia M. Farquhar, 6th day of March. So that's the investigation. That is what they're charging these two guys with. Whole slew of charges based on couple images. Now, like I said, this is not the full story. This is not the full case. I'm going to guess that the government has a lot more evidence than what we see here. This is very surface level stuff. I'm going to guess that there are mounds and mounds of other documents, other photographs, other video evidence, body camera footage. So a lot of this stuff can continue to come out. But I'll tell you, on the front of this thing, doesn't look consequential to me. I mean, it looks like a major stretch because we know that there were a lot of people all spraying around a bunch of different things. And we still don't know what specifically was on Sicknick. Did they test his body? Did they get a swab of anything? Did he have bear spray on him? Did they recover the canister? Do they know what those guys were spraying? Can they identify what was in the canister? He may have been spraying something. Did you see anything in there that they retrieved that? Or that they went to their house and they found the weapon? Right? You see in the TV shows, if they murder somebody, they're always looking for that murder weapon. It's a pretty important piece of the equation. Did they find that on the other end? Did they find the bear spray? Did they even confirm that Sicknick had bear spray on him? We have no idea. But not from this document. So on this document, it looks pretty weak. All right, let's take some questions over from locals.com. If you want to ask questions on the program, it's watchingthewatchers.locals.com. All right, so let's take a look. Want to Know says, I thought all police officers are tased and pepper sprayed in their training, so how come allergic didn't happen to them? I don't believe this. Okay, so I see what you're saying. You're saying that if bear spray or pepper spray would have caused a death of Brian Sicknick, he would have identified that during his earlier training with the police academy. I think it's a good point. And notice on this, by the way, that these guys are not being charged with murder. Okay. We did not see that in the list of charges. They're not being charged with his death. They're being charged with assault on officers. Are those charges going to come down later? We'll see. Sharon Quidney says, how can you prosecute somebody for killing somebody when you don't even have a cause of death? So they're not actually charging him with that. So I should have been more clear. I apologize. At the outset, they're not charging them with murder. They're charging them with assaulting this officer. You can sort of extrapolate that. I mean, they're in my opinion, they're trying to work backwards here. Okay, Officer Sicknick died. They know that. They've been saying for a long time that he was killed by MAGA people. Okay. If that's their claim, they got to prove it. So we have no cause of death for Sicknick, but we know that this was the basis of many claims, not only in the media, but in official governmental proceedings. The House of Representatives included it in the impeachment manager's impeachment memorandum. I have a clip of it. I have footnotes of it. They said specifically that Officer Sicknick was killed. Okay. So they're working backwards. So now they're trying to find somebody who did something that they can just sort of connect the chain. Okay, Sicknick died. Don't really know how he died. Got sprayed with something. Okay, well, we'll just say it's the spray. All right, we'll go find somebody who sprayed him. Find a couple guys. Get some screenshots. we'll see what those guys are saying. Now, if they take those guys into custody and they say, I had bear spray and I sprayed him directly in the face. Oh, Officer Sicknick? Yeah, I remember that guy. Well, then that's a kind of an open and shut case. But if these guys lawyer up, if they don't communicate, if they protect their right to remain silent, their right to counsel, this is going to be a tough case for them to make, my opinion. Daisy Finn Elie, can someone explain to me why the FBI can't say what the cause of death is? His family said it was a stroke. Well, they can't say what it is because it probably doesn't serve whatever narrative that they want to carry forward. And I hate to say that. It sounds so cynical, but it's really, I think, the truth at this point in time. I know that their investigation is still moving forward, but I think we need to know at this point in time. There was an entire impeachment proceeding that took place on the back of this as a legitimate death that was politically motivated. All right, a couple more questions. We have NY Renal MD says, this is a generalization. I have obviously not examined this unfortunate officer and his medical records. However, clear fact, people die all the time. They sometimes die of pre-existing conditions combined with factors, lifestyle, injuries, or agents / drugs. It may or may not surprise you that there may be some piece of information and perhaps not favorable to these politicians' agenda. At this late date, there is no reason why the autopsy is not public. Well, there you go. So that's from a doctor in the house who will tell you about autopsies. And so that makes sense to me. I mean, I'll tell you this. If it was very clear that Officer Sicknick died because some rioter hit him in the head with a fire extinguisher and that killed him, do you think we'd know about that? I would guess so. If somebody shot him, if somebody in a Trump hat stabbed him and he died, we would know about that. Well, they're saying he was assaulted. We don't know why. We don't know how. We don't know how he died. Still up in the air. I think we should know, though. Nadarb says, new law or rule, or whatever you want to call it, for when the media has to do a correction. They are required to put the correction in the same exact place as the original article, or make it seen on the web as the original, or spend as much time on the correction as they did publishing propaganda. Could actually work, but more laws, so... Well, yeah, I mean, I think it's intentionally dishonest. I mean, they have a narrative. They want to run with it. It's a story that fits their political ideology. Everybody after January 6th was sort of mortified by what happened that day. But there was a select few of people in the media who said, oh, we can really run with this. A lot of politicians did also. We're still feeling the effects of it, which is why I was so irritated that any of that happened. I was so disgusted by what I saw because I knew that the pendulum would come swinging the other way, would come cracking down on anybody who even remotely questions the government as a result of this. Now, anybody who questions the government is some sort of maniac. Even libertarians are now in the politicians' crosshairs for some reason. So I understand your point, though. I think it's an interesting question. You know, what if the New York Times was, let's say that Officer Sicknick story got 1 million hits, 1 million visits to that story. Well, what if they have to publish the correction on the front page until that also gets 1 million hits? Hey, we were totally wrong about Sicknick. We were totally wrong about the cause of death. Our original story, it wasn't intended as a lie, but it was absolutely untrue. It was not the truth. Got to post that on the front page. No, that would never work, right? NY Renal says, no one ever declares it because everyone is afraid to talk about that day. Was there an order to disperse? Otherwise, this all took place on the sidewalk in a place that often has protests. Their own video shows police spraying pepper spray incorrectly. How is it not the police that sprayed themselves? Yeah. Well, did you see the images? There's people spraying all over the place. It's mayhem. You're exactly right. That one officer was spraying directly behind Cotter. And if Cotter is spraying this way, and Sicknick's over here, well, you have kind of a triangle going on. And so, yeah, theoretically, people are pepper spraying all over the place. So how are they going to connect it to those guys? When they don't have a canister, presumably they don't have any admissions. They have a couple screen grabs from a wild scene, as Donald Trump called it. We have Jack Elie in the house says, don't or shouldn't current protocols require any unknown substance, such as an unknown spray, to be treated as hazardous material attack until identified otherwise? I don't know. I mean, I think if you are sort of in the midst of it and you go, yeah, I know that's kind of pepper spray, that you could probably just continue to move on unless there is some sort of a problem. Like if somebody dies and you're going to arrest somebody for those charges, yeah, you should probably know exactly what that substance was and how it landed on the person, where it came from, what the chemical composition is, whether that person had any predispositions to dying by that. Yeah, it's frustrating. All right, we've got a couple more questions before we wrap up. We've got Flag Drop NJ said, if a federal officer died from pepper spray, should Antifa be prosecuted for attempted murder when they use it in mostly peaceful riots in Seattle? No, because that's approved political protests. There's some that's approved, some that's not approved. That's okay. NY Renal MD says they have commercial grade antidote to pepper sprays. The affidavit says a deadly weapon is pepper spray. The affidavit says deadly weapon. Is pepper spray classified as such? Basically, that document is garbage. Yeah, the pepper spray thing kind of falls into a very interesting category that the police like to define both ways. If it's used against them, it's a deadly weapon. If they use it, it's non-lethal force. You see how that works? They get double standards all the time. It's great. We saw this. What was that case? Rayshard Brooks. Was that the one that we talked about? I'm sort of mixing them up. But remember, I think that was the case where police were trying to arrest a man, of course, African-American man. He runs away. He grabs one of their tasers. As he's running away, he turns back and shoots the taser at them. And so the police there were saying, well, I mean, he took a weapon and he was shooting it back at us. That's a deadly weapon. And you go, it's a taser. By your own acknowledgement, you say that that is a non-lethal weapon. So if you use it, are you using a lethal weapon on somebody? No, of course not. It's non-lethal. It's part of your protocols. But as soon as they use it back on you, it's a dangerous weapon. And so you see this double standard just play itself out over and over again. We have Ma Fox says, given this is federal charges and their conviction rate, I'm guessing they have a lot more evidence and they're only trying to prove probable cause. Yeah, I think that's probably fair, Ma. We don't know. We're going to see a lot more of this, but I will tell you this, in terms of probable cause statements, they spent a lot of time building up to it, spent like a paragraph detailing what the actual assault was. And then a whole nother several pages with pictures and identifiers for identification. You can identify all you want. You can lay the foundation all you want. Nobody cares about any of that. It's about the allegation and the causation. And did that happen? And that evidence was pretty weak, in my opinion. Next up, we've got NY Renal MD says, at this hearing, can defense lawyers ask for them to produce evidence they even touched any officers? The documents just identify them. What is that? Yeah. So yes, there will be a lot more evidence that I'm going to guess that the defense attorneys get their hands on, as they should, because what we saw there was very, very surface level. And I mean, extremely surface level. Identification is great. They got the guy. Fat sandwiches. Cool. No problem. You got him. You identified him. He may have even been there. But that's not the big charge. The big charge is assault with a deadly weapon. Did that happen from what we saw? I don't know. I saw a bunch of hands in the air. Saw a bunch of bodies. Didn't see any identification of what officers were whom and where the defendants were. Kind of a mess. All right, we've got chairman of the board says, great stuff as always. General question here, not about any of the topics. Any word on the return of Super Chat? Can you share other ways we can support the show in the meantime? Yeah, thank you, chairman, for that lovely, lovely question. So we have reapplied for monetization on YouTube. They told us it's going to take approximately 30 days. So I think we reapplied on March 5th when the day that we got up to apply again, applied on that day. We did delete a couple videos off the channel, probably not missing anything. It was only a handful of these videos, but it was typically the ones that, of course, were some of the best videos that we did. Some of the body camera analysis. Anytime that we go in to body cameras and we sort of are following along the police and critiquing what they do here or there, apparently YouTube doesn't like that anymore. So they said that all of that stuff is too harmful. So we deleted it and we reapplied. They said 30 days from March 5th. So maybe by April 5th, we may find out sooner. Or if other people on Twitter are any indication, we may not hear for 7 or 8 months. So who the heck knows? It doesn't really matter. We're going to continue on regardless of what YouTube wants to do. You can support the show by going over to Locals. Watchingthewatchers.locals.com is a good way to do that. That's where you can ask questions. And I am going to look into another platform called Streamlabs, which I think will allow us to sort of get the super chat functionality without YouTube. So you would actually go to a different platform and you would have that functionality. So we'll see how those two things mature. And if we have some updates, we'll of course let you know. But thank you for asking, chairman of the board. I do want the super chat functionality. I do want to get monetized again. We are still in this penalty box on YouTube and I'm not happy about it, but it's part of the deal. It's part of how this stuff goes. It's their platform. We're just playing around here. We've got Jackalia. Last question of the day says, why wouldn't politicians be targeting libertarians since libertarians want to defund all their boys, joys, and toys and to make government smaller? That is outstanding. One more time. Why wouldn't politicians be targeting libertarians since libertarians want to defund all their boys, joys, and toys to make government smaller? I think that should be on a bumper sticker. Jackalia. If that's not a bumper sticker, my friend, that should be on one. That is a good one. All right. And so that's it for me, everybody. That's it for the show. I want to thank all of those of you who are supporting us on Locals, just like Chairman of the Board was talking about. Some great people over there. We've got several of them in the house. Let's give shout outs to Chairman of the Board who's in here today. We also have Ma Fox and Miss Faith Joy. What's up, Pinky 2? Let's see. Anyone else here who's jumping out at me right now? We got Hack Consulting. We have Scuba Babe. Next up, we've got Brother Dave, Office Warrior. We have Rolf 77. We've got Realtor Patty, 14. Jeremy Matrita was in the house today. What's going on, Jeremy? We have Mad Max 07, Mother Joe, Craftsman 100, Willie's Driver, and then we have some outstanding. We've got some new people who signed up and joined us over the weekend. We've got at Ginny 1004, welcome. We have Realtor Patty 14, welcome to you. We've got Canadian in the crew. Welcome, Canadian. And then we have Kelly D. Stew in the house, along with Bulletproof, Jared Harding, E to the, Danger Mouse Girl, and many others, Norovira, who signed up. Everybody, thank you so much for supporting the show. Now, watchingthewatchers.locals.com, it's a subscription platform. That's where you support us, and we very much appreciate it. And so I want to thank all of you who have already gone over there. If you have not gone over there, please consider it. We have some great things to share with you there. We have a copy of my book. It's free PDF if you want to download it, or you can buy it on Amazon. You can also grab a copy of the slides that Miss Faith will post over there. Any impeachment party documents or existence system templates, you can download this PowerPoint slide and make it your own. Also, some very great people and some links and conversations to share. So head on over there, watchingthewatchers.locals.com, if you want to join in on the fun. And lastly, but not leastly, I'm going to remind you, I'm a criminal defense attorney. That's what my day job is. We have a whole team of people here in Scottsdale, Arizona. We love to help good people who have been charged with crimes find safety, clarity, and hope in their cases and in their futures. We can help anybody who's been charged with a crime here in the state of Arizona. Anything, things like DUI, domestic violence, drug, major felonies, minor felonies, traffic violations, all sorts of things. We can help you with all of those and more. So if you know anybody who is in need of help with our law firm, please have them give us a call. We offer free case evaluations, and we look forward to helping them. And so that's it for me, everybody. I want to thank you for being a part of the program. We are going to hop onto Clubhouse. So if you're not already on Clubhouse, feel free to check the description box. There is a link to our club. There is a link to the event, to the room that we're hosting right now. And so I'm going to hop off here and go on over there. We're going to do a little bit of Q&A. Then we'll wrap up for the night. So before we get out of here, let me remind you, we're going to be back here tomorrow. We are not going to be back here, though, on Wednesday. No show on Wednesday. Why? I'm going on Viva and Barnes, baby. I'm going to go talk with those two gentlemen. We're going to have a conversation about a whole lot of things and more. So on Wednesday, it's going to be the same time. Their show also starts at 7 p.m., except you're going to still be on YouTube, of course. You're just not going to be on this channel. You're going to be on their channel, because we're just going to go migrate right over there. And I'm going to join, and we're going to have an interview. So it's going to be a lot of fun. I want to invite you to be a part of that. But tomorrow, we are going to be back here, same place, same time. So Arizona is now 4 p.m., which is also 4 p.m. in Pacific over there for those of you on the West Coast. 5 p.m. Mountain, 6 p.m. Central in Texas, 7 p.m. on the East Coast for those of you out there, and for that one Florida man. Everybody have a very wonderful evening. Sleep well. Have a nice dinner. I'll see you right back here tomorrow. Bye-bye.